The river goddess's revenge. In the village of Omil, the people lived in harmony with the great river Esh, a sacred waterway that had nourished their ancestors for generations. They knew the river was not just water, it was the dwelling of Esh, the river goddess. To honor her, the villagers held an annual festival, offering fruits, flowers, and sacred chants to ensure her blessings. But as time passed, respect for the old ways began to fade. Among those who disregarded tradition was Dyke, a stubborn and greedy fisherman. While the elders warned never to fish beyond the sacred boundary of the river, Dyke scoffed at their tales. "A river is just a river," he often muttered. "Fish are meant to be caught." One evening, when the sky was painted with the orange glow of the setting sun, Dyke set out with his canoe. Ignoring the warnings, he paddled deep into the forbidden waters, where the fish were said to be largest. The silence of the river was eerie, as though unseen eyes watched him. He cast his net, and almost instantly, it became heavy. He had never caught so many fish at once. Greedy and delighted, he pulled up his net, revealing not just fish but something else, a golden bracelet, encrusted with strange symbols. Dyke's heart pounded. He knew the bracelet must belong to Esh, the river goddess. It was a sign to live, but his greed clouded his judgment. "This must be worth a fortune," he thought, slipping the bracelet onto his wrist. The moment he did, the air around him grew thick and cold. The water rippled unnaturally, and a whispering voice echoed through the river. "Return what is mine, or suffer." Dyke froze. His hands trembled, but he shook his head and laughed nervously. "Superstition," he muttered, turning his canoe back toward the village. That night, the village celebrated a successful fishing day, but Dyke remained uneasy. The fish he had caught seemed to rot faster than usual, their stench filling his home. Shadows danced oddly against the walls, and in the silence, he could hear whispers calling his name. At midnight, Dyke woke to a strange sensation. His skin was damp, his bed soaked as if he had been sleeping in water. He sat up, breathing heavily. The golden bracelet gleamed in the moonlight, feeling heavier than before. Then, a sound came, a soft, dripping noise, like water slushing against a shore. He turned toward his doorway and gasped. There, standing at the threshold, was a figure, a woman, her body shimmering like moonlit water, her long, flowing hair drifting as if she were underwater. But her eyes burned with fury. It was Esh, the river goddess. "You have taken what is mine," she whispered, her voice like rushing waves. "Now, you shall return to me." Dyke scrambled back, his breath shallow. I will return it." "Please," he begged, clawing at the bracelet, but it would not come off. His fingers burned as if the metal had fused with his skin. Esh raised her hand, and suddenly, water began to pour into the room, from the walls, the ceiling, the very ground beneath him. Dyke screamed as his house filled with water, rising above his waist, then his chest. He kicked and thrashed, but an invisible force pulled him downward. His lungs burned as the water swallowed him whole. The villagers awoke to the sound of rushing water and ran to Dyke's home. But there was no sign of him, only his canoe, floating eerily in the middle of the river, and his footprints leading into the water, stopping abruptly at the edge. The elders shook their heads solemnly. "The river goddess has taken her revenge," they murmured. From that day on, no one dared to disrespect River Esh again. The bracelet was never seen, and neither was Dyke. But on quiet nights, when the moon was full, some villagers swore they could hear faint whispers from the river, whispers of a man crying out for mercy.